So let's begin tonight with that major change in Donald Trump's trade strategy, a pause on most global tariffs, and a sharp escalation of duties on China. This triggered a day of confusion about what that shift could mean for, among other countries, Canada. We have reporters standing by with the latest from Washington, the markets, and from Canada's federal leaders on the campaign trail. But first, Chris Reyes is in New York. And Chris, this was quite a bombshell. Walk through how it unfolded.
So, Ian, Trump's social media post was about 4 minutes old when one of our producers sent me the link, and I kind of did this. And, Ian, I'm guessing that I am not the only one who did that. I bet there was a collective gasp around the world. So let's take a look at what Trump wrote on Truth Social, midday, 1:18 Eastern Standard Time. He wrote, raising tariffs on China to 125%. He then said that more than 75 countries had reached out to his administration, and for that reason, he's doing a 90-day pause on the larger reciprocal tariffs and then keeping it to a baseline 10%. So a bombshell, as you mentioned, especially given that these tariffs went into effect today. So essentially just hours old when this post dropped. There was some confusion, as you talked about in the beginning, about whether this 10% applied to Canada. The White House confirmed that it did not stack on top of the other tariffs that Canada's already on the hook for, with steel and aluminum and other goods. Now, very quickly after Trump posted on social media, his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, along with Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, talked to media on the White House lawn. Lots of questions there, as you can imagine. The key point from that was that this was Trump's strategy all along, to use tariffs as a leverage tool, to show the world the lengths that he was willing to go to get a good deal for the U.S. Bessent also praised Trump for putting China into a corner. Have a listen to what he said.
You know, you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors. And we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate. It wasn't a hard message. Don't retaliate. Things will turn out well.
So, Ian, we are yet again in a brand new world. Now comes these negotiations. That's what the 90 days are for, according to Bessent. He said that Trump wants to personally negotiate all these deals individually with each country. Now, I would say buckle up, but I think we've been buckled up for a few months now, and that hasn't really eased that queasy feeling that we're all getting following this bouncing ball.
Yeah, and as you take us through what was said and who said it, clearly a lot of what Trump and his senior officials are saying have been questioned by people. Are they really telling the true reasons behind it? But nonetheless, Trump certainly was talking about this as well. What did he say?
That's right, Ian. So Trump was very quickly in front of cameras after Bessent. He was at a NASCAR event, and then he was signing more executive orders at the Oval Office. He didn't go into great detail about what the next 90 days will look like. He didn't really explain why he made this decision today. As you mentioned, he sort of dodged the question whether he felt pressured by these tumbling markets. He did say that he wanted to be flexible and that he was responding to the countries calling the U.S. Now, interesting thing is that he was asked what he wanted from China, and he was quite coy about that as well. But he did say this.
We have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. It's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well. And they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. They're in the process of figuring it out, but they want to make a deal.
So far, Ian, no response from China. That's what we've been waiting for since this announcement dropped. Although before this new escalation, their foreign ministry did issue a pretty strongly worded statement calling the tariffs a mistake and that it undermines the rules-based multilateral trading system.
Thank you, Chris. Donald Trump's sudden reversal on tariffs led to a furious rally on the stock market. Senior business reporter Nisha Patel has been following that reaction today. Nisha, stocks soared on news of the pause, and where did they finish?
Well, Ian, after 5 days of steep selling, investors were really desperate for an off-ramp to this trade war, and they got it, and it showed up on today's market action. In Toronto, the TSX gained 5%. That was the biggest bump since 2020. In the U.S., the Dow jumped more than 2,900 points. That was the biggest bump ever. The S&P 500 climbed 9.5%. Now, that would be a good gain for the year, and that was all in just one day. And finally, the NASDAQ gained 12%. That was its second best day ever. So in terms of trading, it was really one for the history books, and it was what Wall Street was really looking for. Yesterday, hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman, he posted on social media that a 90-day pause was needed to avoid an economic nuclear winter. And today, after that pause came through, he said, "Thank you from all Americans."
Nisha, for a few days, a lot of people were talking about the stock market, but maybe we should have been focusing on the bond market as well. Tell us about that.
Well, when there's turmoil in the stock market, Ian, investors often buy bonds, which are known as treasuries. They're seen as a safe investment because they're backed by the U.S. government, and the U.S. is seen as a stable country. But over the past few days, and especially last night, investors were actually dumping bonds, and that was really a sign of a market that was in distress. And experts say it was a big red flag. Have a listen.
U.S. Treasury bonds are supposed to be the world's safe, liquid sovereign asset. They're supposed to be a flight to quality and safety when market turmoil like this happens. That's not happening right now. It shows a lack of confidence in American securities and in the American economy.
Now, the bond market is huge. It's worth $29 trillion. It's much bigger than the stock market, and investors were losing confidence. There was a lot of chatter that this trade war would morph into a financial crisis. Now, the White House officials say this wasn't why they paused, but experts say that the timing of it makes that tough to believe.
And this is a pause officially for 90 days. Can we expect more volatility in the months ahead?
Well, there's a little bit of breathing room now. The market reaction today may have been over exuberant. Now, Apple stock jumped 15%, but much of its manufacturing is in China, and those tariffs are now a staggering 125%. So a trade war between the two biggest economies can still cause a lot of damage. And for businesses, experts say the uncertainty has been postponed, but not eliminated. Take a listen.
The reality here is that, firstly, you're looking at an erratic policy stance from the U.S. government. Secondly, you're looking at prolonged uncertainty, which tends to weigh on business investment, on investor decisions, and even on consumer spending. And thirdly, the reality is that the economy is very likely to slow, given that tariffs are much higher than they were 2 months ago.
And so there's still that 10% baseline tariff, which is bound to have an impact. And Ian, you never know if Donald Trump will come up with an entirely new tariff. There's been so much flip-flopping in trade policy from this government.
Yeah, you truly never know. Thanks, Nisha.
You bet.